Good evening. Welcome to Dhammasukha Meditation Center in Missouri. This evening is January the 22nd, 2011. And this evening, Bhante Vimalaramsi is giving the Dhamma talk from Majjhima Nikaya number 140, the Dhātuvibhanga Sutta, the Exposition of the Elements.
Thus have I heard on one occasion the Blessed One was living in the Magadhan country and eventually arrived at Rajagaha. There he went to the potter Bhagava and said to him, "If it is not inconvenient for you, Bhavaga, I will stay one night in your workshop." This was common practice. "It is not inconvenient for me, Venerable Sir, but there is a homeless one already staying there. If he agrees, then stay as long as you like, Venerable Sir." Now there was a clansman named Pukkusāti who had gone forth from the home life into homelessness out of faith in the Blessed One. On that occasion, he was already staying in the potter's workshop. Then the Blessed One went to the Venerable Pukkusāti and said to him, "If it is not inconvenient for you, monk, I will stay one night in the workshop." "The potter's workshop is large enough, friend. Let the Venerable One stay as long as he likes." Then the Blessed One entered the potter's workshop and prepared a spread of grass at one end and sat down, folding his legs crosswise, setting his body erect and establishing mindfulness in front of him. Then the Blessed One spent most of the night seated in meditation. The Venerable Pukkusāti also spent the night seated in meditation. When the Blessed One thought, "This clansman conducts himself in a way that inspires confidence. Suppose I were to question him." So he asked the Venerable Pukkusāti, "Under whom have you gone forth, monk? Who is your teacher? Whose Dhamma do you profess?" "Friend, there is the recluse Gotama, the son of Sakyans, who went forth from the Sakyan clan." Now a good report of the Blessed Gotama has been spread to this effect, that the Blessed One is accomplished, fully awakened, perfect in true knowledge and conduct, sublime, knower of worlds, incomparable, leader of persons to be tamed, teacher of gods and humans, awakened and blessed. I have gone forth under the Blessed One. That Blessed One is my teacher. I profess the Dhamma of that Blessed One. But monk, where is that Blessed One, accomplished and fully awakened, now living? "There is, friend, a city in the north country named Sawati. The Blessed One, accomplished and fully awakened, is living there now." "But monk, have you ever seen the Blessed One before? Would you recognize him if you saw him?" "No, friend, I have never seen that Blessed One before, nor would I recognize him if I saw him." Then the Blessed One thought, "This clansman has gone forth from the home life into homelessness under me. Suppose I were to teach him the Dhamma." So the Blessed One addressed the Venerable Pukkusāti thus, "Monk, I will teach you the Dhamma. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say. Yes, friend, the Venerable Pukkusāti replied. The Blessed One said this. Now some background in this is needed, actually. Pukkusāti was actually a king in a fairly distant land. And he got to be friends with Bimbisara, who was the king of Magadha. Yeah, that's right. Anyway, they started corresponding by letter with each other, and Pukkusāti became so impressed that he wanted to know more of the actual teachings. So Bimbisara had some gold tablets made, and it was written on the tablet. And when Pukkusāti got this, he read the message and he was so impressed he started practicing and decided he'd give up his kingdom. And he started wandering, looking for the Buddha. Supposedly those gold plates are still around somewhere. Which takes away from, they never did anything in writing during that time. They did.
Yeah, sure.
But this was a special thing. And Pukkusāti understood by getting these on the gold plates that this was something very special. And he should treasure what's being said. Monk, this person consists of 6 elements, 6 bases of contact, 18 kinds of mental exploration, and he has 4 foundations. The tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations. When the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over one, he is called a sage at peace. One should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, and should train for peace. This is the summary of the exposition of the 6 elements. Now, not having the tides of conceiving sweeping you away. What are we talking about?
Craving and
Huh?
craving and following all the thoughts that come up.
Go ahead.
The experience of the sense pleasures, conceiving the sense pleasures and becoming attached to them.
Well, they accepted they
Emotion.
called this
The tides of conceiving would be the development of emotions within
the tides of conceiving means letting go of concept. This person consists of 6 elements, so it was said, and with reference to what was this said, there are the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air element, the space element, and the consciousness element. We'll get to that in a minute. So it was with reference to this that it was said, monk, this person consists of 6 elements. Monk, this person consists of 6 bases of contact, so it was said, and with reference to what was this said, there are the base of eye contact, the base of ear contact, the base of nose contact, the base of tongue contact, the base of body contact, and the base of mind contact. So it was with reference to this that it was said, monks, this person consists of 6 bases of contact. Monk, this person consists of 18 kind of mental exposition. So it was said, and with reference to what was this said, on seeing a form with the eye, one explores a form productive of joy. One explores a form productive of grief. One explores a form productive of equanimity. On hearing a sound with the ear, on smelling an odor with the nose, on tasting a flavor with the tongue, on touching a tangible with the body, on cognizing a mind object with mind. One explores a mind object productive of joy. One explores a mind object productive of grief. One explores a mind object productive of equanimity. So it was with reference to this that it was said, monk, this person consists of 18 kind of mental exploration. Do you understand that?
So the 18 are the 6 elements?
Not 6 elements, 6 contact.
6 contact. Okay. And then whether you find it positive or negative.
He uses joy and grief here because these are like beginner kinds of understanding. The joy is pleasant. The grief is unpleasant. And equanimity.
Neutral.
It's neutral is generally talked about when you're talking about neither pleasant nor unpleasant. But it doesn't necessarily have mindfulness in it. Now, what we're talking about here with equanimity, it has mindfulness in it. Monk, this person has 4 foundations, so it was said, and with reference to what was this said, there are the foundation of wisdom, being able to see dependent origination, the foundation of truth, the foundation of relinquishment, and the foundation of peace. Now, this is not the 4 foundations of mindfulness, obviously. But these are the foundations that lead you to having a quiet mind, having a mind that's undisturbed. So it was with reference that it was said, monk, this person has 4 foundations. One should not neglect wisdom.
Knowledge of dependent origination.
Seeing the links. One should preserve truth. Remember what it meant, preserving truth in the Janki Sutta?
I remember.
Remember the 12 steps?
One that preserves truth is someone that says, as I see this, instead of only this is true and everything else is wrong. One should cultivate relinquishment. What does that mean?
6 R's? Like
letting go of craving.
Yeah.
And one should train for peace. It's pretty self-explanatory. So it was said, and with reference to what was this was with reference to what was this said. How, monk, does one not neglect wisdom? There are these 6 elements: the earth element, the water element, the fire element, the air element, the space element, and the consciousness element. What, monk, is the earth element? The earth element may be either internal or external. What is the internal earth element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified, and clung to. That is, head hairs, body hairs, nails, teeth, skin, flesh, sinew, bones, bone marrow, kidney, heart, liver, diaphragm, spleen, lungs, intestines, mesentery, contents of the stomach, and feces. Or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is solid, solidified, and clung to. This is called the internal earth element. Now, both the internal earth element, the external earth element is whatever is hard. And the external earth element are simply the earth element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom. This is not mine. This I am not. This is not myself. So what we're talking about is being able to see your entire body as being impersonal, because it's not yours, even though you kind of get wrapped up in it sometimes, but it's not yours. It's just a body. It's just it's the concept of the body. All of these things that were mentioned are hard, solid. When one sees as it actually is thus, with this proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the earth element and makes mind dispassionate towards the earth element. What, monk, is the water element? This gets to be interesting. The water element may either be internal or external. What is the internal water element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is water, watery and clung to. That is bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, spittle, snot, oil of the joints, urine, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is water and watery. The external water element is cohesion, holding things together. Which is gravity.
The external water element is gravity.
Interesting.
That's one you haven't heard before. It's the gravity is the thing that is coming from outer space and pushing down. That's what gravity is. Everybody thinks gravity is from the earth holding everything down.
Yeah.
But that's not the way it works.
So, well, then I have to ask, so why isn't there any gravity in space?
There is, but it's very, very...
Is it pushing because there's a
It-
solid
there-
piece here and it's pushing between it?
There's the
Kind of
space
compression.
is expanding, right?
Yeah.
And the element, the water element is still holding everything in place as
Right.
it's expanding.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that is interesting.
I just learned about this stuff.
All right.
I get a lot of hassle because you're on the computer too much, but this is the kind of stuff that I find really fascinating.
Yeah, without gravity in space, water would certainly go just completely.
Yeah,
Everything goes.
But it doesn't. It's interesting. Have you ever watched it? You mean, you're weightless inside of the shuttle.
Yeah.
And
it'll
when the guy,
float.
when
Yeah.
the droplet doesn't disperse,
Mhm.
if you go like this, the droplet breaks apart and floats around as a droplet.
Mhm.
I thought that was
Did you ever
because of
notice
surface
that?
tension.
Yeah, no, it doesn't automatically. It would need another force to.
right.
Right.
Make
And then the tiny droplets would be going around, even tinier droplets. It's really funny.
That would be your man-made gravity of going.
Yeah. Well, or something that pulls it to it, like a bigger mass of water, like a planet. But I had a real interesting experience when I was in Florida. I got to talking with somebody that had worked at NASA, and they were very much into their physics. And he started explaining to me how physics worked. And I could hear what he say and translate that into Buddhism and tell him whether he was right or not. Isn't that something?
Yeah, I've always thought Buddhism could do that.
Yeah, it can.
I don't have any grounds for believing that, but I know it does.
Because everything in Buddhism is about reality.
Mm-hmm.
What's physics? It's a way of explaining what reality is according to their rules.
Now, what about the Abhidhamma? Because I've
It
been.
doesn't work so well when you do that.
I mean, what? The Abhidhamma says, okay, it's cohesion, but then when you look internally, you have just water elements.
Yeah.
It's like
That's the difference
it's like you have
between the
Abhidhamma out here and you have Sutta elements in here, and
Right.
it's confusing. I don't know. I mean, in earth, you have hardness. Okay, I feel the hardness, but now you're really ignoring the fact that there is earth here.
Yeah, but you're walking on it.
Right.
You kick it. You
But the Abhidhamma kind of says, no, it's just hardness. Forget it. There's nothing there other than hardness.
It's true, but it's false.
Well, you see, the whole thing is with all of the elements, there are these elements that come together and make a chair or a piece of wood or whatever.
Mhm.
And there is more earth element in that post
Mhm.
than there is air element. But there's still air element there because air element is movement and vibration. And when you go fine enough, you see that there's atoms and molecules and they're all moving around. They're not sitting still in one place. So the air element is there, but it's not as pronounced. And the fire element is there. So it's cool and hot.
Mhm. Yeah, I guess earth, it's two things. There is the earth element, and it has its nature that we can understand, but when we perceive it, we're perceiving a hardness,
Yeah.
because it is hard.
Because that's
But
the
it's
most
not only
pronounced.
hardness, it's
Right.
because the hardness is coming from some cause that's compressed together.
Right.
Okay, so it's really, okay. You don't want to separate them, yeah.
So the whole thing is when you get into Abhidhamma, they go off on tangents.
Mhm.
That's why I don't like Abhidhamma, because it does go off on a tangent and it'll take you far away from the reality of the situation. And that's why I had trouble with the Mahasi Sayadaw method when they said just see the elements in the pain, the hardness, the softness.
So you can see the impersonality of
Yeah, you're supposed to see the impersonality of it, but you have your mind is so tense and
Right.
tight because it hurts so bad that you never recognize the craving. And I ask many times about this tension and tightness that I
Yeah.
had in my mind, and I was always told to ignore it. It's nothing.
Huh.
That's just another aspect of the earth element.
The idea that once you understood fully that anatta of the elements, that would just go away because of your enlightened
Well, but it didn't.
view. But of course it didn't.
And that's where the problem lies.
I mean, it's like you're looking at the fire and you say, well, as soon as you understand that it's really just a bunch of elements, it'll become cool. And it won't burn you. No, it won't. It's just, well,
Well,
maybe
that's
that's
you're
bad
doing
example.
your metta.
Yeah.
I've always had problem with that. I've told the story about the monk that I didn't meet him. I just heard about him while I was in Burma. That he was sitting in his kuti and he was practicing loving kindness, and his kuti caught on fire and burned down, and he was sitting there the whole time, and they thought that the monk was dead. They started pulling the rubbish around him, and he came out of his meditation and looked around and said, well, what happened? And his robes didn't even get burned.
Wow.
Now, whether that's a real honest story or not, I don't know.
Yeah, how far removed was it from whoever saw it?
Well, you know how things happen in Asia. You've got a lot of people talking about it, this fantastic thing. It's like that one picture of the Buddha in the tree. And the guy that took the picture after years of people worshiping this, well, you couldn't see the Buddha except you could take a picture of it. And the guy finally fessed up after years of people talking about it, saying, this is just something that I did with the cameras. And still to this day, they don't believe it, and they... So anyway, the nature of cohesion is gravity. So that's part of the water element, because it is cohesion, holding together. But the internal is different from the external, always. And that's where Abhidhamma kind of gets mixed up. So I like this so much, we're going to go over it again. Whatever internally belonging to oneself is water, watery, and clung to, that is bile, phlegm, pus, blood, sweat, fat, tears, grease, spittle, snot, oil of the joints, urine, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is water and water or water in clung to. This is called the internal earth or water element. Now both the internal water element and the external water element are simply water element. And that should be seen as it is, actually as it is with proper wisdom. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the water element and makes mind dispassionate towards the water element. And what is the fire element? The fire element may be either internal or external. What is the internal fire element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is fire, fiery and clung to, that is, that by which one is warmed, ages, and is consumed, and that by which what is eaten, drunk, consumed, and tasted gets completely digested, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is fire, fiery, and clung to. This is called the internal fire element. Now, both the internal fire element and the external fire element are simply fire element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom. Thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the fire element and makes mind dispassionate towards the fire element. What, monks, is the air element? The air element may be either internal or external. The air element is by far the biggest element. By far. What is the internal air element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is air, airy, and clung to, that is, upgoing winds, downgoing winds, winds in the belly, winds in the bowels, winds that course through the limbs, in-breath and out-breath, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is air, airy, and clung to. This is called internal air element. Now, both the internal air element and the external air element are simply air element, and that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom. Thus, this is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the air element and makes mind dispassionate towards the air element. Air element is movement and vibration.
Internal? External?
External and internal both. I mean, in the gross form, you're talking about winds in the bowel and winds in the stomach and belching and things like that, and lead passing gas. Our gas maker is down below. So, I tell you to sit still. Can you? No, you can't. The earth is moving.
All my molecules and atoms.
All of your molecules and atoms and all of that is moving. The universe is moving. The whole solar system is moving. You can't sit still. It's impossible. Unless you attain Nibbana and die.
But you don't have to die to attain Nibbana.
Thanks
And
for
after
that.
you've attained Nibbana, you don't have to die. Just to clarify.
Right, that's it, thank you.
What, monk, is the space element? The space element may either be internal or external. What is the internal space element? Whatever internally belonging to oneself is space, spatial and clung to. That is the holes of the ears, the nostrils, the door of the mouth, the aperture whereby what is eaten, drunk, and consumed and tasted gets swallowed, and where it collects, and whereby it is excreted from below, or whatever else internally belonging to oneself is space, spatial and clung to. This is called the internal space element. The space element is the part that's in between the other elements.
Like the space in between atoms?
Yes. Space in between you're sitting there and my sitting here. That's the space element.
There's even space element inside the organs, structurally. And there's
Well,
open
inside
space.
the atoms, it's,
In the lungs and the heart,
yeah.
liver.
There's a lot more space than there is anything else. So when somebody says that you're spaced out, they really mean it. Now, both the internal space element and the external space element are simply space element. And that should be seen as it actually is with proper wisdom thus. This is not mine, this I am not, this is not myself. When one sees it thus as it actually is with proper wisdom, one becomes disenchanted with the space element and makes mind dispassionate towards the space element. I actually don't like this makes mind dispassionate. Mind becomes dispassionate when you do see things as they actually are.
How do you see these things as they actually are? Is that a dumb question?
Be patient, you will.
Okay.
Then there remains only consciousness, purified and bright. What does one cognize with that consciousness? One cognizes this is pleasant, one cognizes this is painful, one cognizes this is neither painful nor pleasant. In dependence on a contact to be felt as pleasant, there arises a pleasant feeling. When one feels a pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a pleasant feeling. One understands with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as pleasant, its corresponding feeling, the pleasant feeling that arose in dependence on that contact to be felt as pleasant, ceases and subsides. So we're just talking about things change. Independence on contact to be felt as painful. There arises a painful feeling. When one feels a painful feeling, one understands, I feel a painful feeling. One understands with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as painful. Its corresponding feeling, the painful feeling that arose in dependence on that contact to be felt as painful, subsides, ceases. Independence of contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant. There arises a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. When one feels a neither painful nor pleasant feeling, one understands, I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. One understands with the cessation of that same contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant. its corresponding feeling, the neither painful nor pleasant feeling that arose in dependence on that contact is felt to be neither painful nor pleasant. It ceases and subsides. The feeling you feel most of the time is neither painful nor pleasant. And it's real easy to be indifferent. Just not pay attention to that. And when you don't pay attention to it, that means that your mindfulness is not very sharp. That's the difference between equanimity and indifference. Because it is a feeling. But it's real easy not to get too involved with that feeling. When equanimity comes up, it is actually the highest feeling that you can experience. Monk, just as from a contact and friction of two fire sticks, heat is generated. And fire is produced. And with the separation and disjunction of these two fire sticks, the corresponding heat ceases and subsides. So too, independence on contact to be felt as pleasant, to be felt as painful, to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant. There arises a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. One understands with the cessation of that contact to be felt as neither painful nor pleasant. Its corresponding feeling ceases and subsides.
Can I ask a question?
May I ask?
Well, in 19...
I have a question too.
in 19... he was using the terms I feel a neither painful nor pleasant feeling. He was saying, my question was, can you
That's just a
say...
way of describing it.
Right.
That a monk would say, I feel this.
Okay.
But he's not talking about it being a person.
I just wondered if that's what he was doing, because it was a beginning teaching, and like the next level would be one cognizes there is a feeling.
Right.
Okay, that's what it is.
What one cognizes, one perceives, and
Right.
what one sees,
One cognizes.
one feels.
One feels. One feels. Right. What one cognizes, one perceives, one feels. 43. 4.
Actually, it goes feeling, perception, and
No, you did
It
right.
isn't though.
Feeling,
thinking about
perception, and consciousness. Consciousness cognizes. So what one...
Consciousness comes
what-
up first.
You have
No,
to
you-
perceive it before you can cognize it.
Well, you got consciousness.
You have to feel it
Consciousness.
before you
Perception.
perceive it.
Consciousness,
Yeah, I mean,
feeling, and perception.
feeling's the object. It's got to be there first.
Feeling, perception, and consciousness, friend. These states are conjoined, not disjoined. It is impossible to separate each of these states from the others in order to describe the difference.
Right.
For what one feels, one perceives.
I know.
Okay.
I know what you just did. That the link formations consciousness.
Yeah.
That's the potential.
Yeah.
That's the one you're thinking
It's
about,
not
and
the-
that's the potential is there. But then when you're working with the individual sense door,
Stuff you can really
you
be
have
aware
feeling,
of.
perception, and consciousness, which is the sense door consciousness. That's what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you're right.
I knew you were right, but I couldn't figure out at first why.
Yeah.
It's feeling, and then there's the perception. That's the naming of the feeling, whether it's pleasant, painful, neither pleasant or painful. And then there is the cognizing of that, whichever one it came up.
Well, isn't
Whichever sense door you cognize what the
Isn't
sight
it-
was cognized.
isn't
No.
it cognizing
No,
before
the
the
feeling.
perception?
No.
There's a feeling and you
No,
are aware of
as soon
feeling.
as a feeling, you notice that's a pleasant feeling, and that's what you cognize.
Okay.
Got it?
Yeah. Well, seems like
Perception.
there would be,
Well,
See,
perception
the object-
is
What we're,
and then the perception follows like a
okay,
nanosecond
what we're
later.
missing here
well,
is
that's what it is. It's feeling,
Mhm.
and then perception. That's the naming part of the mind, and then cognizing,
what we're missing is
or the recognizing part of the mind.
what we're missing in our mind, David, is the molecule. It's a hook, three pieces hooked together that are inseparable, that can't operate without the other. That's what it's explaining back where, if you read it again, one cannot operate with the other. Can you feel without perceiving and cognizing? Can you cognize without perceiving or feeling? Can
Well,
you see, you
but
can't.
if you, I mean,
There-
let's say a burning object hits your hand and you don't know let's my hand's up here and goes whoosh, I'm going to feel heat.
And
And
your,
then-
the perception is the thing that makes it heat.
Mhm.
Okay.
And then there's a cognition that, oh, this is hot.
Okay, I see.
It's all really fast, and it's like a,
But there's a serial kind of, I mean, it's very fast, but
Yes.
you can't, because I figured out you can't have, it has to be serial, because you can't have the feeling last.
if it's serial,
It's
then it
impossible.
isn't. Then it isn't what it says it is.
I know, and
And
I
it
think
is
it
a
isn't.
molecule, because you can go outside tomorrow and say, I'm going to feel without perceiving or cognizing, or I am going to perceive without cognizing and feeling, or I am going to cognize without feeling or perception,
Well, maybe
and
we
you
can
can't
say
do
that
it.
they are always there, but they're just a tiny bit afterwards.
If you
Yeah.
feel
But they
better,
always
They
they always
the
follow
same
each
order.
other around.
They
It would-
follow the same order.
It is serial because something hits your hand,
Yeah,
and then you perceive that it's hot,
right.
and then you cognize that it's hot.
and you
And it's always in that order.
Yeah.
Right.
So it is
But you
serial.
could never have a feeling without the other,
No,
Right.
too.
without its brothers. two
you
brothers
can't cognize
come along.
something before you perceive it or feel it.
So what I'm saying is that there is the feeling, and you can see the progression in your
You're all saying
mind.
the same
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
And her point is, it's all together
It's a
as one, and
molecule.
I know, and that's been my confusion as to why it says it's all together. But you could say it's all together, and it's both. But
They're
it's always-
conjoined. It's like
yeah,
a,
but-
Well, it's
Like
like
a train.
This.
Yeah.
It's like this. There's a tire, a frame, and an engine. Can I drive the car if I eliminate the tires? Can I drive the car if I throw away the
yeah,
frame?
but I don't think that's
Can I drive?
a good
yeah.
example.
Yeah, well,
You'd have the train, you have the engine, and it's followed by the cars. But there's always the engines. Whenever there's a train, there's always cars behind it. Otherwise, there's no reason for a train.
the train. The concept of the train is the engine and all the cars.
Well, but the cars are never traveling in the same path with the engine. They're always behind the engine.
Unless you're down at a railway yard and they push them and pull them.
Anyway.
Well, anyway.
Anyway.
Then there remains only equanimity, purified and bright, wieldy, malleable and radiant. Suppose, monk, a skilled goldsmith or his apprentice were to prepare a furnace, heat up the crucible, take the gold with tongs and put it in the crucible. From time to time he would blow on it. From time to time he would sprinkle water over it. From time to time he would just look on. That gold would become refined, well refined, completely refined, faultless, rid of dross, malleable, wieldy, and radiant. Then whatever kind of ornament he wishes to make from it, whether a golden chain or earrings or necklace or a golden garment, it would serve his purpose. So too, monk, then there remains only equanimity, purified, bright, and malleable, wieldy, and radiant. He understands thus: if I were to direct this equanimity, so purified, bright, to the base of infinite space, to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by that base, craving and clinging to it, would remain for a very long time. If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite consciousness, to the base of nothingness, to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and to develop my mind accordingly, then this equanimity of mind, supported by that base, craving and clinging to it, would remain for a long time. Now what he's talking about is what the Buddha went through as a bodhisattva, because he still had craving and clinging in his, he had at least craving in his mind. Don't know if there was clinging. And he went as far as anybody could go. And he still recognized that there was something he was holding on to. And he didn't figure it out right then, but he did recognize it. That's why he went off and tried all these other paths. He understood thus: if I direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite space, to develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite consciousness, to the base of nothingness, to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. He does not form any condition or generate any volitional tending towards. He allows, gets out of the way and allows them to be.
Wait, could you read that one more time?
Well, you don't want much. If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite space, and to develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. If I direct my mind.
Yeah, that's the condition right there.
Well, the condition is still whatever base you're in. That's still part of the conditions.
Oh, okay.
It's not an unconditioned.
Oh.
Sure.
My goodness.
All right, keep going.
If I were to direct this equanimity, so purified and bright, to the base of infinite consciousness, to nothingness, to the base of neither perception nor non-perception, and to develop my mind accordingly, this would be conditioned. It's subtle, but it's still conditioned. He does not form any condition or generate any volition tending towards either being or non-being. He does not form any condition to generate any volition tending towards being or non-being. He does not cling to anything in this world. This is just a standard thing that Bhikkhu Bodhi says, but I change it to: he does not crave and cling to anything in the world. When he does not crave and cling, he is not agitated. When he is not agitated, he personally attains Nibbana. He understands thus: birth is destroyed, the holy life has been lived, what had to be done has been done, there is no more coming to any state of being. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There's no holding to it. There's no delight in it. If he feels a painful feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There's no holding to it. 6R reading. There is no delight in it. If he feels a neither painful or pleasant feeling, he understands it is impermanent. There is no holding to it. There's no delight in it. If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels it detached. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels it detached. Detached. What does that mean?
It's impersonally felt. It's just feeling.
That's it.
May I ask a question about the meditation? By creating the feeling you get from radiating metta, you're
allowing that feeling to arise.
That's
You're
a
not
pleasant
creating
feeling.
it. You're allowing it.
Is it you're allowing it to arise?
Your natural.
You're getting out of the way. You're focusing your mind on a happy feeling and allowing that happy
backing
feeling
off
to come
from
up.
it, yeah.
Opening.
Mhm.
Opening. When you were little, you were open, and it could come up any time it wanted to.
Mhm.
And as you filled up to adulthood, your heart closes, and you were actually keeping it from arising. And what was happening is you're just opening up,
Still.
just opening up and allowing it to come up, tapping into where the memory of it is, and allowing it to come out again.
This
That's
feeling
right.
is a feeling, not a thought, right?
Mm.
I mean, I guess you have thoughts about them and you 6R them, you stay with the feeling, right? But it's a pleasant feeling. Okay.
What makes it legal is it's the formulating of generosity.
Yeah, I guess that's what I feel a little weird
It's
about.
it's the building of generosity, which is the foundation of opening the heart for the practice in the first place. You see?
But it's gotta, I mean, that means it has to end eventually, though.
Has to what?
The joy, the pleasantness of that is gonna have to go by the wayside eventually.
Don't you remember that joy just arose the other day and then it went away, didn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah.
But you bring your mind back.
Mm-hmm.
Well, these are all conditioned.
Mhm.
And it's okay for them to be conditioned. But what you're doing every time you let go, every time you 6R, every time you relax, is you're letting go of the unwholesome condition and allowing the wholesome condition to be there.
Just the present moment and what I'm feeling.
And that's how you become purified and right and malleable and all of this stuff. It's allowing this other stuff that's been distracting you for however long
Mm.
to be there without keeping your attention on it.
Mm.
They just agreed with me.
Yeah.
Because
That's
it's
a
not,
little
it
irking
doesn't,
in the chimney.
it doesn't go away.
It doesn't have to go away. You allow it to be there. That's your job, just to allow. You're not controlling. That's a problem that a lot of people experience.
Mhm.
They wanna control.
Yeah.
And you'll hear me say this, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 times. Get out of the way. Let it be by itself. you keep your attention on your object of meditation. Don't get involved with the distraction. See, that's what we're talking about this morning. Is you're learning how to allow. And you're learning how much pain you go through when you don't. And you're trying to control. It's real interesting stuff.
Yeah.
If he feels a pleasant feeling, he feels detached. Detached from what? Identifying with that pleasant feeling. If he feels a painful feeling, he feels detached. If he feels a neither pleasant nor painful feeling, he feels detached. When he feels a feeling terminating with the body, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with the body. When he feels a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with life. He understands on the dissolution of the body, with the ending of life, all that is left, not being delighted in, will become cool right there. There is no more fire when you die. What is fire?
Warmth.
Fire is craving.
When you attain nibbana, that stays with you until you die? Or do you have to maintain it?
That's another evening.
We can talk about it another time. It's just,
Yeah, we'll talk
think
about that. Monk, just as an oil lamp burns in dependence on the oil and wick, and when the oil and wick are used up, if it does not get any more fuel, it is extinguished from lack of fuel. So too, when he feels a feeling terminating with the body, a feeling terminating with life, he understands, I feel a feeling terminating with life. He understands on the dissolution of the body with the ending of life, all that is left not being delighted in will become cool. Right here. Therefore, a monk possessing this wisdom possesses the supreme foundation of wisdom. For this monk is the supreme noble wisdom, namely the knowledge of the destruction of all suffering. His deliverance, being founded upon truth, is unshakable, for that is a false monk, which has a deceptive nature, and that is true, which is undeceptive nature, nibbana. Therefore, a monk possessing this truth possesses the supreme foundation of truth. For this monk is the supreme foundation, the supreme noble truth, namely nibbana, which is an undeceptive nature. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he undertook and accepted acquisitions. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off. At the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them so that they are no longer subject to future arising. Therefore, a monk possessing this relinquishment possesses the supreme foundation of relinquishment. For this monk is the supreme noble relinquishment, namely the relinquishing of all acquisitions. What does that mean? relinquishing of all acquisitions. What do you acquire?
Belonging.
What do you hold on to?
Things, great.
Relinquishing all acquisition means getting out of the way. Seeing everything as part of it, as an impersonal
Oh.
process.
Oh, everything that comes into your
And
sense
it-
base, you just let it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but those are your acquisitions. Is
Right.
that's what you're saying?
When you take them and hold them.
Right, because every time you do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced covetousness, desire, and lust.
Whoa.
Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made like a palm stump, done away with them, so that they no longer are subject to future arising. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced anger, ill will, and hate. Now he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them, so they are no longer subject to future arising. Formerly, when he was ignorant, he experienced ignorance and delusion. What is ignorance? Not knowing the Four Noble Truths. What is delusion? Identifying. I am that. Now that he has abandoned them, cut them off at the root, made them like a palm stump, done away with them, so that they no longer are subject to future arising. Therefore, a monk possessing this peace possesses the supreme foundation of peace. For this monk is the supreme noble peace, namely the pacification of lust, hate, and delusion. Craving. So it was with reference to that it was said, one should not neglect wisdom, should preserve truth, should cultivate relinquishment, and should train for peace. The tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations. And when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage of peace. So it was said, and with reference to what was this said, monks, I am is a conceiving. I am this is a conceiving. I shall be is a conceiving. I shall not be is a conceiving. I shall be possessed of form is a conceiving. I shall be formless is a conceiving. I shall be percipient. It is a conceiving. I shall be non-percipient. It's conceiving. I shall be neither percipient nor non-percipient is a conceiving.
I'm still at what is percipient.
You've got a dictionary over
Can you hand me the dictionary?
there. Conceiving is a disease. Conceiving is a tumor. Conceiving is a dart. By overcoming all conceivings, monk, one is called a sage of peace. Conceiving. What do you conceive? All of your thoughts, all of your opinions, all of your ideas, the clinging. But it's also the craving with the clinging.
It is in the dictionary. I love it. I just love it. When
Percipient.
percipient, P-E-R-C-I. There is no P-E-R-C-I in this
Wow.
dictionary. End of story.
Incredible.
Oh, wait a minute. That can't be because perceive is I before you. No, except after C. Sorry.
It must be part of a perceive.
No, it isn't. It's percipient,
Recipient.
of light. Remember
Where's the
how you say
perceiving light?
percipient of light?
You're aware of it. You're cognizing it.
Well, but here it's more, the emphasis is on the conceiving.
Oh.
Well, you always
Yeah.
said if we're percipient of light, 6 are it. That's what you told us.
That's right.
So you're saying,
You're thinking about the light.
And identifying with it.
Yeah.
And the sage of peace is not born, does not age, does not die, is not shaken, and does not yearn. Doesn't that sound great? For there is nothing present in him by which he might be born. Not being born, how can he age? Not aging, how can he die? Not dying, how can he be shaken? Not being shaken, how can he yearn? Longing. So it was with reference to this there was said, the tides of conceiving do not sweep over one who stands upon these foundations. And when the tides of conceiving no longer sweep over him, he is called a sage of peace. Monk, bear in mind this brief exposition of the 6 elements. Thereupon Venerable Pukkusāti thought, indeed, the teacher has come to me. The Sublime One has come to me. The fully awakened one has come to me. Then he rose from his seat, arranged his upper robe on one shoulder, and prostrating himself with his head at the Buddha's feet, he said, Venerable Sir, a transgression overcame me, in that, like a fool, confused and blundering, I presumed to address the Blessed One as friend. Venerable Sir, may the Blessed One forgive my transgression, seen as such for the sake of restraint in the future. Surely, monk, a transgression overcame you, in that, like a fool, confused and blundering, you presumed to address me as friend. But since you see your transgression as such, and make amends in accordance with the Dhamma, we forgive you. For it is growth in the Noble One's discipline when one sees one's transgressions as such, makes amends in accordance with the Dhamma, and undertakes restraint in the future. Venerable Sir, I would receive the full admission under the Blessed One. But are your bowl and robes complete, monk? Venerable Sir, my bowl and robes are not complete. Monk, Tathagatas do not give the full admission to anyone whose bowl and robes are not complete. One of the things that it talks about quite often is that when you give bowl and robes to monks, then when it's time and you want to ordain, they will appear in whatever way. If there's nobody else around, they just appear by themselves. Or somebody else will have some and say, I want to give these to you so you can become a monk. Then the Venerable Pukkusāti, having delighted and rejoiced in the Blessed One's words, rose from his seat, and after paying homage to the Blessed One, keeping him on his right, he departed in order to search for a bowl and robes. while the Venerable Pukkusāti was searching for bowl and robes, a stray bull killed him.
Mhm. That's the guy, yeah.
Then a number of monks went to the Blessed One. After paying homage to him, they sat down at one side and told him, "Venerable Sir, the clansman Pukkusāti was given brief instruction by the Blessed One, has died. What is his destination? What is his future course?" Monks, the clansman Pukkusāti was wise. He practiced in accordance with the Dhamma and did not trouble me in interpretation of the Dhamma. With the destruction of the 5 lower fetters, the clansman Pukkusāti has reappeared spontaneously in the pure abodes and will attain Nibbana there without ever returning from that world. So he became an anagami,
Okay.
listening to this particular sutta. That is what the Blessed One said. The monks were satisfied and delighted in the Blessed One's words.
Now, does that mean he attained anagami when after the end of the discourse, or
During.
during death, during the
No.
getting gored, and he just
No, he had already attained it.
Oh,
That's
okay.
why he wanted to take on the robes.
Okay. It seems like some monks, they die and then they seem to attain huge things upon death.
Well,
So that's
can happen.
can happen, right?
May suffering ones
Be
be
suffering free and the fear-struck fearless be. May the grieving shed all grief, may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.
不管路艰辛，我愿意去迈开大步勇向前。不管路遥远，何时到终点。